Thank you. That was supposed to wake me up, I'm still tired. So yesterday we were talking about these arpeggios that I tend to see, and I've always seen. James just mentioned the fifth string root arpeggio shapes. But I want to talk a little bit today about them in terms of playing over changes, playing over chord changes, and how they really just make life easier. I mean, they really just make things much easier, for me at least. And I also want to talk about some rhythm concepts. So, just to reiterate a little bit, specifically, what were you asking? The question you were asking.
I guess it's just like how you think, what's going through your mind when you think together. And you did a lot of that yesterday.
Yeah, we did. We talked about it. But just to review, I was just getting into the idea that tonalities come from superimposing, and so if we have a chord like a B minor chord, and I want to get the sound of a 9, I want to highlight the 9 sound. I'm going to look for certain shapes that might give me, like an F sharp. That's those kinds of shapes are going to give me that sound. So that's really what it was. It's pretty simple. But I want to show you how, for me, how it's been convenient when it comes to rhythmic ideas and also just playing over changes. So I'll do it one step at a time. I just want to show some rhythmic concepts that I think would be interesting for people. Hold on a second. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just get into a couple of displacement things, just because I find that this is the most challenging thing, and I have a lot, I've done so many students over the years and so many guys who are really good, but with this particular area, I find even really good players sometimes struggle a little bit. So I just want to take an idea for creating displacement really easily. And let's say that you have a pentatonic scale, that we'll just stick with A minor, rock and roll, and we take a simple sequence that's just going to be 5 notes, and we go. That's it. Simple sequence. And we just take that across the fretboard in that key. Exactly. Right. So if we think of that as 5 notes, it's kind of easy, right? If we go 5 notes, 5 notes. It's pretty simple, right? It's not difficult. But when we want to use this effectively, then the idea is to try to count to 4. And we can also count to 3, so I'm going to do both examples. But this is just one sequence where, just by thinking of it in terms of a 4-note feel, it completely gives you instant, that sort of instant sound. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to continue the sequence, but I'm going to count only the 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that feels a lot different, right? Does that make sense what I'm doing? So we're just counting to 5. We're counting a 5-note sequence in 4s or sections of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you end up getting 5 different sort of 4-note sequences. So if I play that with some real music for a second, get an idea of what it feels like. Just slow it down a little bit. A little fast. something that sounds way cooler than, say, you know, a four-note sequence that sounds very predictable. So a lot of, you know, if it seems doable, are you really trying it? Because you can't really do it without feeling the pulse, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you guys hear me talking? Yeah. Okay. Can you give me maybe a little? I don't hear myself when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right.
Yes.
What's your right hand?
Pardon?
Your right hand. Is station or microphone? What do you do there?
What am I doing?
Yeah, your right hand.
Oh, my right hand. My right hand. Let's see what I'm doing. I'm playing this. I'm learning. Well, I tend to use my second hand. Yeah. But we could take a more normal sequence, even if you just took, like, say, this is a scale shape that a lot of us rock players use. It's basically a Dorian scale with a flat 5 in the middle of it, which allows us to go right across the fretboard and not change frets. But it's nice for sequences, so if you went that's easy, right? But if you count 4, I'll do a bit of music because I can't tap my foot. Anyway, so those are just a couple of sequences that translate really nicely into ideas that sound a little bit more, and you know, give you a little bit of syncopation. It sounds a little less downbeat oriented.
Right. That's a question.
Mm-hmm.
You start on the C and you do 5 notes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your first note of the second 5 notes?
So, well, the first note of the second 5 notes will be the G, right? Because if you count as 5, it's just, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we count as 5, it's a symmetrical sequence.
So you go C, B, A, G, A.
Yes.
Ah, you go, okay, I thought you go going down.
No, we're going back to that A, so I should be more.
First 1, 2, 3,
Clear.
and then 1 back.
Yes. Right, exactly. But it's cool because when we put that in the 4, it feels entirely different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the idea. Does that make sense? Go
That's a
ahead.
question for the right hand.
Uh-huh.
The fourth note, are you taking it with the finger or?
Actually, not usually. Sometimes. I am, actually. Actually, I am, now that I see it. But if I go really fast, sometimes I don't know. That all makes sense?
Yeah.
So let's see what happens if we take that same exact concept and put it into threes. If all these, you know, that's what's cool about sequences, for me at least, since like I said yesterday, I don't have a ton of licks. I have a lot of sequential ideas that I just play through shapes. And sometimes I end up being real surprised, pleasantly surprised. Sometimes it's a big disappointment, but sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised at what I hear. And so as threes, if we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with that 5-note sequence, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, So that's an entirely to go, right? So, let's see if I can find a groove for that. Something difficult? Does it seem like something you can get? You should try it with real music, because you might be surprised. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And these ideas are really cool for a lot of reasons, because the thing is, if I go back to the original 4-note version, that's only one version of the way that can sound, right? Because I could start on 2, right? I can go 1E and F. If I'm counting 1 and 2 and 4 and 3, then I could start on, say, 1E, right? 1 and 2 and 4 and 2, right? So entirely different, feels entirely different. 1E and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and 2 and 3. So it ends on the end. But it's really fun to do this stuff. I'm just going to mess around with the A4 version for a second and see what happens. it's one of those things I've always been attracted to. And I get, when people, sometimes when I get advanced students that come to me, usually I get guys that are really good. That's the one area that they seem to be inquiring about a lot, which is rhythmic ideas. Because so many guys have great technique. I watched all you guys last night play. You all sounded amazing, by the way. Give yourself a round of applause. It's really, really, really nice. And it makes it difficult for guys like me, because I'm like, what am I supposed to show you guys if you don't already know? But anyway, so that's one of the things. The other thing I want to get into, I'm going to try to combine these, because I sort of want you to just, I just sort of try to give away, I'm trying to let you see how I see music, how I see the fretboard, how I see improvisation on the guitar, and what tools and what tricks kind of hacks work for me. So when I take ideas like that and I combine them with, let's say, we're talking about unrelated chord changes, right? So I have a song called Bird's Eye View, which I'll play later on. But I'm going to get into just, let me see if I can just loop something. So in this case, I go back to what I was talking about yesterday, a lot of these fifth string root bass shapes. So we have a chord progression in this song, which is basically C minor to A minor. To A flat major. So it's, for us rock players, this is very, this is jazzy, right? This is kind of like challenging. And so I have to think of a way to simplify this in my mind, and that's what I do all the time. I'm always thinking of the easiest way to look at something. I don't want to learn a lot of stuff. I want to learn a few things that I can take to a lot of places. I'm not saying that's the correct way to go about doing stuff. I'm just saying that's what works for me. And so in this case, I kind of see the fretboard lights up. The whole chord scale of B flat major lights up, or should I say C Dorian. So I see all these arpeggios and all these chords basically that come with that scale. And so, for instance, I know that if I play G minor, when I say play G minor, what I really mean is play around lines that are built on that harmony premise, right? So it could be just something in that area. And then I know that A minor is coming. So I kind of know, instinctually, I can see G major as my scaffolding, or my sort of specialized shape, or the shape that's going to give me a sound that I like against A. So it's going to give me a lot of nines. It's going to be very colorful. It's got a 9 in there, it's got a 6. It's got all these cool, colorful sounds. That's if I want to go that route. If I had played, let's say if I had played more like a sort of a blues lick in C, then I may have immediately seen E minor, or minor 7 flat 5 shape for the A chord. So I hope this is making sense. Does that make sense? Go ahead.
So could you just show the shape you sort of thinking around the G major? Is it like the G major 7?
Yes. Right. And I'll play with it. So if I just take just those two, right? I mean, I have to address, unless I shorten the loop, this loop is the complete chord progression. So I'll just show you how my mind thinks. I'm going to be thinking basically all these chords are B flat over the C, so C Dorian, and everything that comes with that. And then A minor, or G major, But I want to see everything in vicinity, right? So if I played this in C minor, then I want to see this for the A minor. I would instinctually kind of see that. And that's basically what's going to happen all the way through this. When we get to the next, when we get to the A flat chord, I sort of treat that as a Lydian sound. But I sort of see it as a rock and roller and more or less as C minor. In other words, like C, A, Aeolian minor. So in my mind, I'm going C Dorian, A Dorian, C Aeolian, and then we're going to address the alto chord. So that's how my brain is processing this. But again, the arpeggios help to make this easier because there's overlapping arpeggios all the time. So I'll just give you an idea of what I'm doing and just tell me if it all makes sense. And I'm going to try to play as simple as possible. So that's just using a lot of arpeggios. I'm not really improvising the way that I would if I was actually playing the song, but I just wanted to sort of exaggerate on the use of those shapes so you can see them in action. But that all makes sense to you pretty much?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Just to clarify, sorry, with that A flat, sorry, it's A minor, C minor, A flat, and G alto, right?
That's exactly right.
So the A flat, so you're thinking Lydian then?
I'm really, I should be, but I'm not. I just sort of, yeah, I sort of resort to Stairway to Heaven. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, you were mentioning a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. What chord would you see?
I was using that on both chords. When I say both chords, the C minor and the A minor. I think when I called it out, I had played it over A, so I probably used the F sharp version of it.
F sharp minor 7 flat 5 over A minor.
Over the A, yeah, because I'm seeing it as Dorian, right? So it's just coming from the G.
I just one more thing. Do you rather think, okay, if I play this arpeggio, I'll get the Dorian sound, or do you think Dorian scale?
I'm not thinking the scale as much as I'm thinking about tonalities,
Okay.
right? So in other words, if I hear a basic chord like this, if, you know, so like I know where that F sharp, I know what that sounds like, and I know where it is, right? And I know. So if I want that sound, it correlates to a shape. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, you know, in a perfect world, everything that I hear would immediately translate to my fingers, which of course doesn't happen, right? That's the goal.
So what you basically did was taking the characteristic note of the mode and then use it as the root to the main minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. Okay.
Well, I was hearing that note, right? So I know that it exists in in one of those types of shapes, right?
Okay.
There's other ways that I might, like if I was up here and that chord came about, so if we went, you know, and I'm up here somewhere, and then suddenly we have this A minor chord, I might go. I might access it from a different shape. I'm still hearing that note, right? It's just inevitable that I'm going to probably end up in the minor 7 flat 5, one of these minor 7 flat 5 shapes.
Thank you. So just as a little exercise, so for example, if you wanted to, instead of thinking of it like when you hear A minor, instead of hearing or wanting to hear Dorian sound, if you say wanted to hear a Phrygian sound, would you step by step think, okay, so where is A minor sounding as a Phrygian, and that would be like F major, and then
Yeah, I see what you're asking.
Is that
That's not really how my ears work. So when I think of a mode, I really do think of a collective sound, a collective mood, right? A mode, right? And so the Dorian has a feel to it that is based on the collective 7 notes. And often that feel is really only emerging from one note being in a specific place. There's really not that much difference between a Dorian scale and, say, a natural minor scale. But they feel totally different to me, right? A Phrygian scale is almost defined entirely by not just the scale, but the chord progression that it would likely be used in, right? So if somebody came to me and said, we have a song that goes, then it would be almost impossible for me to not hear a Phrygian scale. Right? There's nothing else really that my ear would want to put there other than those notes. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking of these modes more collectively. I'm not doing that math in my mind. you know, that I end up somewhere where my ear goes, it's more like this. It's more like I hear things, my fingers go there. And then while I'm there, I'm going, oh, no wonder I'm here. Because that makes sense that I would be playing this shape because I was hearing this thing. You know what I mean? I don't go, I try not to. I don't look at a shape and then say, haven't used that in a while, let's go play there. Because I'm trying to play from here. So if I play from here, it's inevitable that I'll end up in a familiar looking shape, you know? Does that make sense?
You said that on the different chords, you see different shapes, I mean, overlapping shapes, you said.
The what?
Overlapping shapes.
Yes.
What do you mean? Do you mean that you can find the same arpeggio with the notes of both modes and you use?
Absolutely, right. And a lot of times it's a lot of notes, right? Like we were just saying, in this case, particularly the way my rock and roll brain works, C Dorian, C minor shows up twice in my mind, right? Because I've got C minor to start off with, but it's Dorian. And then you go to A minor. It's really like a substituted chord in this progression in a weird way. And then we come back to C minor in my mind, but it's an Aeolian version of C minor. So if I were to think of just two chords that both those versions of C minor have in them, E flat major, 7th, right? That E flat major 7th is in the key of B flat, and it's also in the key of, which one?
B flat, if it's A flat.
Well, it's an E flat for sure, but, I'm sorry. Right, so, and also A flat, right, exactly. So right, if C is minor, then that means that it really came from E flat. If C is Dorian, it came from B flat. But in both of those keys, you have an E flat chord, major chord, and you have a C, G minor chord, right? So that's just one example of overlapping things that I would see. So, like if I did just for a split second, I went like this. So in that case, I'm really only thinking about two keys, right? I'm really just being as lazy as possible.
But in that case, you might enhance, different notes because you have to make.
Yeah, right. So in other words, I probably wouldn't do what you just heard me do if I was really improvising. But I'm just saying that when this stuff was new to me, that would be something that would be like a nice, like, oh, look at that. That would be a nice find, if that makes sense, you know. So if you guys have any other questions about that, you have 5 seconds. All right, I'm actually going to play this tune, and I'm going to sit down because I'm tired still. I'm sure you can tell by my execution. Is Tommy here? There you are. That's a cool shirt. Look at you. Anybody who wants to join me today, with a couple of bands. You guys all sounded amazing last night, so if you can come up and play with me, go easy on me. All right. I might stand up midway through and see how excited I get. don't know how much more time. Does anybody feel like jamming out a little bit? Come on up. You miss your turn? You want to come up? Come on up. What would you like to play around with? You like changes? You like not changes? Yeah? It doesn't matter. You want to come up too? Come on up. Awesome. That's fun. We could do sunny. Or not.
I hope you can.
We could do back in black.